You're listening to the Business Show on Radio Blue Mountains 89.1, and now it's time to welcome back Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains and Penrith for our weekly finance segment. And today we're going to talk about some important legislative changes since the new year. So hi Rob, welcome.
Hi. Yeah. Hi Peter.
Hey
good
Rob,
to be back.
how you going? Yeah, did you have a
good.
good Christmas?
Yeah, very good. Very good.
Did you get away?
We got away a couple of times.
Yeah,
So this
awesome.
time last week I was Caloundra actually.
Caloundra.
And I think it was pretty good weather actually.
Yeah.
Quite
'Cause the
opposite
weather
to
in
this.
Sydney's
It was
it's just
fantastic.
been
Perfect.
so hit and
Absolutely
miss.
perfect. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. So away with the family?
Yeah, one of the holidays was, and last week was with some friends.
You've been on multiple holidays, Rob.
Oh
Lucky
yeah.
man.
You can never have too many holidays.
No,
can you?
I agree, 100%.
Yep, you won't get an argument from me with that
So
either.
when did you come back to work? Just this week?
No, I came back for a few days.
Yep.
I don't know, somewhere there in the middle of January, and then I went off again. I mean, a week back at work was long enough, really.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You
absolutely.
got to take another holiday.
And
I agree.
Pete-
I'm thinking already I need a holiday, and I'm like, this is my third
That's
week.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my second week back, and look, Pete's got a philosophy of working in thongs in January, and I've adopted it, so I'm in my thongs now, and I just don't feel
You are
like I'm
too.
back at work till the
You are
kids go
too.
back to school.
Yeah.
Which is not till like Thursday, Wednesday,
I think
and
it's
Thursday.
important to January. It's generally like if you've got kids still at home, it's kind of that you just need that laid back feel. So I think come February you got to get serious about the year again. But January, I'm like shake it up a bit, have a bit of fun with it. If you can get away early,
Absolutely. That's right.
good luck.
Absolutely, it's summer.
So, Rob, anyway, we're going to talk about some changes that have hit the property market as of the 1st of January, and in particular, the underquoting laws. So we did touch on this a bit with Karen from Yumi Real Estate last week, but do you want to just give us your
sure.
version on
Look,
that?
I think this is really significant because, look, for so many of my clients, when they're out looking at properties, we've had all these, most advertising lately has been offers over.
Yep.
And it really does mislead people and you're all over the place. I've always armed my clients with reports from RP data so they've got information to go on to compare all that. But I think this is a far more honest system now, so that those terms like offers over 1 million plus, million, mid-millions or whatever it is, all that kind of language.
Mid-millions. That's a scary thought, isn't
yeah,
it?
that's right.
Because look, technically, what
it's
you're
all
saying
finished.
and what we found out with Karen is that the person who's selling has a figure in
Yeah,
mind,
absolutely.
don't they? That they want
Absolutely.
to
Yep,
hit.
yep.
So it's just so.
It's really deceptive,
broad and deceptive, yes.
and look, information's power, and it's not an equal market if that power is all on the side of the selling agent. So this brings a bit of power back to the buyers. I think it's far more honest. There's a lot more accountability then for agents. They need to keep a conversation record. They've got to keep it within 10% price range in the range that they provide. And there's fines if they don't get it right. So I
So
think
have
it's
you
very
known
significant.
clients? Have you had clients that have wasted money on getting
More so in
pest-
auctions? Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
auctions is where it really. And we don't have as many auctions up here, but where there are auctions involved, it's such a waste of resources. You might have, particularly in the city, if you had 50 people bidding on a property, they've all got to pay for a pest and building report. They turn up to the auction, and it just goes way over what they expected, and something had to happen. I'm really pleased that it has happened.
So how do they actually market the auction now? Because do they give a price range, or is it just that the property, do they give a price estimate for an auction?
Yeah,
Because wouldn't
well-
that change the auction
Yeah,
process
because
now?
it's kind of
Yeah, well, they don't have to give anything.
just that it's up
if
for
they,
auction.
That's right. They can put a range if they want to, but it's got to be within those parameters.
So if on auction day, auction's great and there's
if it
bidding
goes
and
over that,
Technically the
I
agent.
guess they've got to be able to support how they came up with that range. So if they've got a
Right.
range, I had clients on the weekend who bought a property and it was priced between I think it was 520 and 550. I think it was something like that, or 500 to 550, because you can have a 10% range, and they paid 555.
right.
So I suppose, and I don't know that they're going to look into that too closely with $5,000 over, but the agent would need to be able to provide the supporting evidence that that was a reasonable range.
And
from
I wonder,
500 to
like, who's
550.
actually policing this? Because I did notice on the weekend I was having a bit of a Google around, and there are still agents actually advertising the offers over.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, it's illegal. It's the it's fair trading that polices it. Maybe there's a bit of a grace period. I'm not sure, but the sort of things I've been reading is it's going to be fairly easy to police.
Right.
So wouldn't
Maybe
you, wouldn't
they've
you
given
have
them
to
some
be
grace.
living in a, like under a rock if you're in that industry and you didn't know? I mean, how do they communicate with you? I mean, was it
Well,
fair-
it's not even
yeah.
living under a rock. I think that it's just being a rogue, and unfortunately some real estate agents can have that reputation that they just do their own thing. So
And there's a responsibility to review their advertising now as well.
Yep.
So that if offers are starting to go up and the vendor still hasn't sold the property, they're still trying to get more, then they've got to change their advertising as well.
Yeah.
So it's I think they're good changes.
Yeah, I
they're really
would agree.
responsible
And I think
changes.
it comes back to the consumer, doesn't it? It's about protecting the consumer
Yep.
and particularly, like you said, in those first home buyer cases or auction cases where people are outlaying, for solicitors to go over contracts and
That's
and
right.
it really is outside of their price range. It's disheartening for them too. They say buying a house is one of the most stressful things that you're ever going to do. If you can remove a layer of stress, why not?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I definitely agree with that.
Absolutely.
God, it was the most stressful thing I ever did.
Yeah.
in the financial world for
They
sure.
do say it's up there with weddings, deaths,
Yep.
believe it or not.
I'm
So,
very
do you have any
much-
tips of how people can reduce their stress?
Just talk to a great mortgage broker like Peter or myself. Honestly, I realise that, and I'm sure Peter does too. I'm always aware it's a big deal. This is a major, major decision. And sometimes we get stressed out people on the end of the phone, and I say to my staff, just remember, this is a really big deal for these people.
Yeah.
And I guess we just want to walk them through the process and try and provide information to sort of relieve some of that stress that they might be feeling. So being able to talk through a bit of that, I think, does help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job. All right. So there were some other changes that came in.
Yeah, a few other changes that came in that people might feel in their hip pocket. First-home buyers, things have changed there. So for some time now, you've only been able to get the first homeowners grant on new properties. And that's been $15,000 in New South Wales. It's now been reduced to $10,000.
And it's still
in
the
New South
same, Rob?
Wales.
Still only for new?
Yep, new properties, but it's reduced now as of the 1st of January. Of course, the no jab, no play policy is coming in. So if you don't get your kids vaccinised, you won't be entitled to Centrelink payments. And also, there's been some changes to the age pension test, the income test for recipients of a defined benefit pension. So that will be people more so in the public service who were there in the early days, or big corporations who are on a defined benefit pension. And they've changed there's the income that you receive, and then there's an amount that's deducted. And all of that was reducing the amount of income that was used to qualify those recipients for the age pension. That's changed. And so now, with those changes, they've limited the deductible amount to 10% of that payment. What it means in effect is more so, and the way the formula works is quite complicated, it's older recipients who are probably going to be entitled to less pension payment going forward.
That's not nice.
That's the bottom line,
Yeah.
really. So
But
that's
if they've got
big
another
change.
pension in place, though, that they've got another benefit
Well, they
in
are
place,
getting.
don't they?
That's-
They're already getting
that's right.
something.
It probably is fairer because those defined benefit pensions for ex-public servants have been very, very generous.
Oh.
And
From
they-
early days, public sector, yes. There's,
Yeah, I'm a
there's
little bit
some-
jelly.
Oh, gosh.
So
just
they
a
were
little
able to
bit.
get that.
There were
plus
teachers
the
that did that. They had a scheme, which they don't do anymore.
No, the original one.
The 4 out of
SSS, yep,
5.
Yep.
There was like a 4 out of 5. So, they basically salary sacrifice so they can take a whole year off. And man, there are some
Well, I had a
cashed up
good
teachers
friend
out there
who
having a year off.
was a public servant for 45 years, and when he retired, he actually got a pay rise from his defined benefit pension.
Wow.
So
That's
you know,
good
it's
estate planning.
Very clever.
so
plan.
the legislators are catching up on them. So that's another change there.
So just on that, Rob, because you have a financial planner in-house,
Yep.
don't you, that you can often offer that service to people who
That's
are wanting
That's right.
a bit of estate planning or thinking, am I going to be impacted by those changes?
Yeah, so those sorts of things are things that we can assist with that kind of information and with planning. Certainly, if someone is going to that retirement stage, you've got to get it structured right.
So what age would you suggest that if somebody hadn't had that kind of advice, that they'd come to you and, start talking about
I think
retirement?
it's worth having that conversation in the early 50s, and certainly by 55, it's a good time to start having that conversation. So you're putting the right things in place.
So you've got time to make sure you've got.
Particularly at 60, everyone, as a general rule of thumb, everyone would benefit from this is a general rule of thumb, assuming you've got a reasonable amount of money in super, you would benefit from a transition to retirement pension. So at 60, you can take tax-free income from that pension fund. That is your superannuation pension fund. So gearing up for that is very, very important. You don't want to wait till you're 60.
Do you think we'll be retiring at 60? I feel
No.
like it'll be.
God,
I'll be
I won't
160.
Well, transition to retirement is where you are taking an income stream from that pension fund while you are still working.
Okay, so
And
you can
then
take your foot off the pedal a little bit.
You're sacrificing what you're taking out of that fund back into super, or maybe just backing off a little bit and supplementing your employment income with that pension. So certainly as you're getting close to 60, that's the time to really look at it.
See, and that's just a minefield, isn't it? Like you're absolutely silly if you're not getting that advice from the people that understand it, because it changes
absolutely.
so
That's right. It's
rapidly.
constantly
And
changing.
Look,
And a
I'm
lot
just
of the time
bamboozled
it's
even thinking about it.
retrospective.
You know,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
I definitely I would be seeking advice, though I'm not near 60 yet. Can I tell you? So it's
Of
not on
course.
my
It'll be here
radar.
for you, though.
Of course.
Here for you,
It
though.
will be. It will be.
So what about, just quickly, Rob, the property market?
Property market,
Boom over?
look, I think most of us heard the reports on television, and it seems the boom is over. So the stats tend to say that.
Did we bust?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a bubble that bursts, but I think it's probably more that people aren't paying a premium, and it's going to flatline pretty much. But
So for someone who is a novice like me, when so properties aren't going to go down, they're just not going to go up as quickly. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, they might go down a little bit, but it's. I mean,
Okay.
the Sydney market, the median price has gone down by 2.3% in the last quarter,
Okay.
but it's still 11% for the whole of 2015.
Yeah, massive.
But it's a
Good growth.
slowdown. There might be a little bit off, but I don't think we're going to have a massive drop.
Yeah, I think just as things start to change, as the buyers get a little bit more of that control back, and and particularly with those changes that you spoke about earlier, I think that will put the buyers back in the driver's seat. Not immediately, but as time goes on, and we'll go back to a traditional selling period where
I think there's more of an equilibrium, or getting closer to the equilibrium of buyers and sellers, whereas it really was a pure seller's market.
yeah.
And interesting, like if for me, I'm always interested in the psychology around it and what it means, because I would imagine that in an overheated market that was just like people would have overextended themselves, which then creates financial stress and pressures in their relationships, in their workplaces.
Yep.
That's the after effects of what we're dealing with. And then you have we've got increased road rage. I'm sure all these things contribute.
And I saw an article, I don't know if you saw it, Rob, this morning, where they're just starting to talk about some things like that. So that they're expecting to see some mortgage stress and
a lot of
type
people
of thing coming through.
they stretch themselves too
terribly
far.
sad.
It's a low interest rate environment, but probably as interest rates go up sometime, maybe in the next few years, that's where it will be felt.
Do you see much market move in the next 12 months?
I don't think so.
No.
The sort of things I'm reading are maybe the banks will increase their rates.
Well, again, I mean,
but,
it seems to be independent these days,
but the
doesn't
RBA may reduce.
Yeah.
Because we're on the edge of a recession. So it probably is going to even out, but most economists are talking about a low interest rate environment for some time.
Yep.
So
And I remember when I first started mortgage broking many, many years ago, people don't actually get this, because in the last kind of 5 years, we've had very fluctuating interest rates. But when I first started in the game, interest rates didn't move for 4 years. So it's not unheard of that things can sit tight. But I think people tend to forget those things, and you look at the volatility we've had since the GFC, that it's just an assumption that rates are constantly on the move.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Rob. Thank you, Rob Lees from Mortgage Choice Blue Mountains and Penrith. You can contact Rob and his team on 4739 9749, or you can drop by their office and have a cup of tea, which is Unit 3/13 Hope Street, Blaxland.
Let's
Good to
hope
see
he
you,
has
Rob.
tea. We just
We
dumped
do.
him in
sure.
there.
We've got a coffee machine too.
Oh, I'm sure.
There you
Most
go.
people opt for the cold water.
Yeah, and I'm
you
sure no one will pop in just for a cup of tea.
Well, they
although
can,
I guess.
They could chat to you about all sorts of things to do with mortgages.